Welcome back to Real Estate Simplified. I'm joined today by Brady Atkinson with Benchmark Home Inspections and Sherry Chan, the founder of realestatetextips.ca. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so Brady, the real estate market is incredibly hot. Inventory level is at the lowest point it's been for the past 2 decades, and the competitive market now is seeing a lot of people foregoing their home inspections and just putting in firm offers. What's happening with buyers right now, and what kind of hiccups are they experiencing?
So on the residential real estate side, it is really competitive for them, and I know they are leaving conditions of home inspection out of a lot of offers. So what do they do to get ready to buy a place? You've got a couple options. One is you could do an inspection up front prior to putting your offer in, so that was a pre-offer inspection. Or you can do one after you move in as well. So once you've taken possession of the building, we can go in, take a look at everything, and just make sure if there are any surprises that are in there, we can find them fast, and then you can just deal with them and get them out of the way so they don't cause problems later on.
Yeah. Now, in a more traditional, normal market, quote unquote, a home inspection is typically, a 3-hour, 4-hour process where you go through the entire property. With a pre-inspection, so this is, doing an inspection before the offer night. What does that entail? Is it the same thing? Is it almost as good? What does that look like?
So there are definitely challenges with that. An example would be getting time to go into the house. You being a real estate agent, there are often 100 viewings on a house before it even gets listed. So they're breaking the windows into 15-minute or half-hour intervals where you can even go into the house. So there are situations where I'm going in at 7 o'clock in the morning and going through to check before that 9 o'clock time when all the other showings come through. So it's finding the amount of time that you need to go through the house that's the challenge. Doing a full home inspection is something I would always tell people to do. There is a partial inspection. It was a bit of a challenge with our insurance to say, I don't have a full 3 hours to go through and check all of my boxes that I would normally check, but what can I check while I'm there in the amount of time that I have? So essentially what we're doing is we're checking the most expensive stuff first. We're checking the roof, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, the structure, and the attic. That, in a real quick snapshot, and having no conversations with anybody or showing anything, any items in the house that we're looking at, which I like to talk to the buyers as they're going through it to explain things, that kind of gets cut out. You don't get that opportunity anymore. It's more of I'm going to go in for an hour, I'm going to check all this stuff as quick as I can. I'll have a conversation with you when I'm finished in the building, because it's a bit of a stretch for time while we're in there. So those phone calls afterwards, they typically go on for a little bit longer. The other thing is people have to understand that we're not doing a full home inspection when we do that. So a 3-hour time frame gives me the opportunity to check the lots and grounds, the exterior surfaces, all of the bathrooms, all of your living spaces, the bedrooms. We just don't get that opportunity when we only have 1 hour. So it does pose challenges, and I do make it really clear to people that there are things that we're going to miss because we only have 1 hour. I would always encourage a full inspection just because it does eliminate more risk for those people.
Yeah. But one of the benefits of getting in there before offer night is you have more information about the property. And we've seen it before where there's 10, 15 offers on a property. It sells firm for a ridiculous amount of money, and then there are major issues with the property, and the buyer has no idea. So now they're left with a couple $100,000 bill for a major repair. Where if you were going into that situation with a little bit more knowledge, even though it may not be perfect, it definitely helps you out.
And I can think of 2017 was a really busy spring market, and people were going into the competitive offers and leaving out conditions. And one of my busiest falls was actually the fall of 2017, and that was because there were so many people that had bought places and moved in and then had concerns after they had moved in. So history kind of showed that one, and I do think kind of moving into 2022, we're probably going to start getting a lot of those phone calls.
Yeah,
we've already been doing quite a few of those. So that is one of the phone calls that we get more commonly is we've moved into the house, we've taken possession. either this is an issue and I don't understand it, can you come and explain it to me? Or we just want you to have a look at everything that's here and make sure there's nothing that's going to come up and surprise us.
Yeah. Well, speaking of surprises, what are some of the things that can be hiding in a home that you just wouldn't know about just walking through with the regular showing?
So that is a really broad question to answer. I go through new houses, let's say a 5-year-old house that's in terrible condition. I go through century homes over 100 years old and they're in fantastic condition. So it's really hard to say, the 1970s, well, they all have aluminum wire. That is something easy to pick out for a building of a certain age. Kitech pipes, they fall between 2000 and 2010. So, that's on our radar when we go into buildings that age. But really the bulk of the items depend on how well the building's cared for. And, you can go into a house and take a look, and you can always get a feeling of a house when you walk into it. If it's something that hasn't been treated very well for the last 10 to 15 years, and they've just kind of prettied it up real quick to get it done, you can feel it when you walk into the building. But again, that's a broad question. That's kind of hard to say. It really comes down to how well the building was cared for.
Yeah, well, you mentioned new construction homes.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the Tarion warranty, is it still worth getting a home inspection?
Depends on the person. I think it is, and there's lots of people that we do work for that think it is. There's lots of people out there that do own homes. They've owned homes for a long time, and they know exactly what everything does, where everything should be, and how long things should last. But there's lots of people that don't understand that, and they phone us on a pretty regular basis, and they want to know with new stuff. I've got a brand new house. We're coming up on our 1-year or our 2-year warranty. Which of the two is the most important? Which the answer to that is the 1 year is the one you don't want to miss. And then with that, what do we check to? The guideline is what's called the Construction Performance Guideline. It's an online PDF that you can download from the Tarion website. And it's really informative. The way that they break it down, it's literally a list of items. Each page deals with one item, such as cracks in a floor or cracks in a foundation wall. Do cabinets match? There's a squeak in my stair or a squeak in the floor. It addresses just about anything that you could think of in a building. It says what year is it covered under, which warranty, is it the 30-day, is it the 1 year, is it the 2-year or the 7-year. It also says what the conditions of acceptance are. So if it's a crack in a foundation, it says it's 6 millimeters in width and can't leak water. So with things like that, we check to the Construction Performance Guideline.
Yeah, and we just had a situation with a 1.5-year old new construction home. Behind every piece of drywall, there's mold, and the house is sinking into the ground. That shows you, even though it's a new construction home, it was the builder's first development in Canada, and obviously they had some issues there. Having that inspection can, save you from a terrible situation.
Absolutely. There's two things very recently that came up with new home warranty was missing insulation in walls and leaks. There was a brand new house down in Oakville. They had 3 leaks. It was kind of funny. I laughed about it. It's not something that the homeowner would laugh at, obviously, but it was a townhouse, so it only has 2 exterior walls. Both of those 2 exterior walls were leaking. The windows were leaking, the roof was leaking, and the balcony was leaking into the garage. So the homeowner called about the one into the garage, and then as I got going through with the infrared camera, you could see the water coming in under the window frames, and sure enough, it was wet.
Yeah.
So
you don't want to be taking that house sailing
no,
on the water, because you'll be at the bottom. Well, Brady, that was good stuff. And coming up after the break, we'll have answers to your common real estate tax questions. Stay tuned.